Welcome to DrVoIP training. This brief training segment is from the DrVoIP ShoreTel 8 administration video series. The complete 15 hours of training is available online or on DVD at drvoip.com. Let's meet our coach, Peter Buswell. Known throughout the telecom industry as DrVoIP, Peter brings a wealth of experience to his training sessions. He has worked in telecom since 1970. He's worked exclusively in VoIP since 1998. He's a VoIP entrepreneur with 3 venture capital-backed businesses. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Technology Management, plus certifications from some of America's leading communications companies. Let's join one of Peter's training sessions now in progress.
The deployment model and discuss the placement of these servers and why we might have them. Originally I told you that this deployment model was basically a headquarters server, Carlsbad, with a site called Oceanside, and that this was a separate system in its entirety called Hollywood. Let's assume that this blue area is the headquarters site and the orange area is actually a second site. In fact, let's make the gray area Hollywood. It'll be the separate system that is connected via a SIP trunk. But as it relates to application servers, what we're interested in right now is the concept of a distributed voicemail server. So in the ShoreTel world, basically the system is architecture is currently certified for 21 servers. So you're going to have one headquarters server and upwards of 20 of these distributed voicemail servers, DVMs. And it's not necessary to have a server at a site. For example, for purposes of discussion, assume there's a 3-site installation. This site here has no server. When this person needs to check a voicemail message, they are in fact going to go across your very expensive WAN, and their voicemail lives over here on the headquarters server. Well, if the site gets any bigger, that is going to mean a lot of traffic will traverse the WAN. And typically, I don't know, 100 users is probably the point at which you should consider putting in a distributed voicemail server. Now, the distributed voicemail server provides some important functionality that I'd like to discuss. First off, the purpose of the distributed voicemail server is to enable these users at this site to have their voicemail boxes reside on this server. When we set up users later on, you'll see where we actually say that a user is associated with a particular mailbox server. And so in the case of ShoreTel, we can have about 254 simultaneous voicemail automated attendant connections going at any one point in time. And I'm fairly certain that's more of a Microsoft limitation than a ShoreTel limitation. It has to do with the maximum number of media streams. But let's look at it this way. If I declare these users to have their voicemail box on this server, then when someone calls into this site, this site will have a copy of all of the automated attendants from the headquarters site, as well as any automated attendants that are unique to this site. There will be no need to traverse the very expensive WAN connection using up bandwidth and subjecting the call to the voice over IP quality of service issues that would never even be in question if the call never left the site. So by putting a distributed voicemail server at this location, we eliminate traffic across the WAN. The second advantage is that if this WAN were to fail in any way, this site would still have automated attendant and it would still have voicemail capability. There's a concept that should be generally understood by anybody with any database management experience. At the end of the day, there can only be one read-write copy of the database, one place where we can go and make changes. So let's be clear about this. The distributed voicemail server, though these users can live there, and these users can certainly have their voicemail boxes there, and auto-attendant messages can be played there. If we make a change, if this user, for example, goes to change his call handling mode, that change is actually made up here at the headquarters site in the only read-write database that exists in the system. This ShoreTel beautiful architecture, it's a single image solution for 3 sites, but let's understand that there can only be one place to make changes in the database. The change is made here and then it's replicated to the distributed voicemail server, the application server out here, but the change is actually made only on the headquarters server. Any changes, things like the call handling mode or wrap up or anything that would cause a change to the database is going to require connectivity here. So though we provide for survivability should this WAN go down, understand that changes that are made in the system would be unknown to the remote site if the headquarters server could not communicate with that remote site. So it's also important to note that there are basically 2 communications channels that are open between a user's personal call manager, and that's the TAPI and the CSIS service. So TAPI communicates, is used to communicate with the server that manages the switch that manages the user's phone. So a user is basically associated with a switch, and TAPI is used to communicate with that switch. CSIS is used to communicate with the user's voicemail server. So again, we need to be cognizant of how a change in the WAN structure here might affect these users.